Oh, this means you're completely unprepped too.
I am.
Oh,
I am
wow. Okay.
completely unprepped. I am. Good
Going old
morning. Who?
school.
Yes, we are going old school. I can't, for some reason, it's not hitting my business LinkedIn or my business Facebook page, but that's okay. I think we're live. We are
Okay, we're
live.
gonna go for it.
We
Hey,
are
y'all.
live. Good morning.
Let us
Happy
know if you're here so we
Monday.
know for sure.
Right? Because we are. So it is Monday. Kayla and I weren't sure we were even going to do this today. I was thinking about using um, a recording because officially I'm on vacation this week.
Woo woo!
I know, right? I'm super excited. We are over in Nashville today. My husband's getting his teeth cleaned, and then we're spending the
What a
day.
vacation.
I know, right? And then we are, but it's 8 o'clock, so we're headed downtown. We're gonna spend the day in Nashville. That's our vacation. We're gonna be tourists in Nashville
That
today.
sounds nice.
Yeah, yeah. So we're excited about that. Spent the weekend with my parents. Had a good Easter. How was your weekend?
Good. Yeah, had a little bit exhausting. Had a birthday party that I completely forgot about. So this is the third weekend in a row of birthday parties. I'm tapped. Um, we
I bet.
also we've been doing a music class for Theo every Saturday for a month.
Ooh.
So this was the first weekend off of that, at least again. But all of that in combination, I was like, I hope you enjoyed
Ah,
seeing your friends because I need a break.
right, because we're done seeing friends for a minute. Just saying. I love it.
Yeah.
All
Yeah. Do
right.
we
Well,
have anybody here? Because I don't see
yes,
anything in the comments.
I know nobody's talking to us, but we do.
Okay.
We do have folks
Okay.
here, so I don't know. They're probably just waking up, getting
Just
their
being
coffee,
quiet.
just
Where you
being
at?
quiet, wondering, right, wondering what our quote is because they're like, this quote
This
on
is
the bottom of the
clearly
screen
last
is
week's.
last week's. I
Yes.
know. So our quote today is the intuitive mind is a sacred gift and the rational mind is a faithful servant. And this quote comes to us
Mm.
from Albert Einstein. Um, I kind of like this quote. What are you thinking, Kayla?
Yeah. Well, I definitely like the first half. Um, as I've gotten further along here in my business journey, I am starting to find just more and more value into being able to tap into and really hear, understand, and process things that are coming from my intuitive mind. And I'm really starting to believe that that's a superpower. And
Yeah,
for those who maybe aren't are a little bit newer to our world, I've shared this before that research has now shown us that our feelings of intuition, they're not just feelings. For a long time, and even still in society today, like people tend to kind of like brush off intuition. Like if you can't back something up with facts and data and things that you can see and point to and rationalize, then we kind of carry this idea of like, oh, well, then it shouldn't be trusted. And the truth couldn't be farther from that, because we now know that what comes to us as intuition or a gut feeling is really a culmination of all of our past events, and they just get stored there. It's like too big to store in your memory as like with language. It's like too big of a file essentially,
right.
and so but we don't want to lose it all together, so we like compress it down into a zipper file basically. But when
Yeah,
you unzip it, all you can access is the emotions. So when stuff comes up and we get that gut feeling and something deep inside of us is like, lean into that, because it's not random. It's based on previous experiences that are similar in some way. You just can't access the language that's attached to those experiences. All that comes through is the feeling.
exactly. Exactly. Kayla, who is it that talks about that a lot? There's a book. Or maybe it was a TED Talk.
I don't know, but I'm gonna
I
need you to
think
remember because now I want to
I
check it
know.
out.
I know. I'll keep thinking about it. I'm not I need to just let it come. Because
Yeah.
there is that. Now I'm going to be thinking about it. Anyway, there is some um uh,
Well, we'll circle back when it pops
yes.
up, which will
Yes.
probably be after we're done
I
recording.
know, right?
Um,
I know exactly. So I think that
it's
that's go ahead.
Yeah, it's super interesting. I've been diving back into some of Alex Sharfin's podcast, and one of his kind of ongoing themes is this idea of like being able, like you always, as your business grows, especially if you're in a place where you bring on team members and you have other people handling different parts of your business, you get to a point where you have to make increasingly difficult decisions with decreasing amount of information. And it's in those positions, you have to go with your gut and you have to be able to access it. And you have to have that really strong mind body connection so that you can feel all of this intuitive sense and use that, actually harness that in your decision making process.
I love that. I think that's so true. There's this. I wish I could remember who said this or where I got it. But anyway, it was about really successful people. We tend to think that they make these amazingly good decisions and choices, and that's why they're so successful. When in reality, it's because they make so many more than just the
Mm-hmm.
normal person, right? Because they're making decisions quickly and with less and with not they're not waiting and waiting and waiting for more and more and more data. They're just making those decisions as it happens and pivoting as it occurs, which really, I think, piggybacks on to this intuitive mind as a sacred gift, leaning into that intuitiveness and trusting that our just because we don't have the language for something doesn't mean that it's not right. I can remember the first time that I did that and I said it out loud. I said, literally, I know what I'm about to do isn't going to make sense. And I'm going to do it anyway because I intuitively believe that this is the right thing to do. And my husband at the time thought I was insane. But it was really the first time that I just out loud said, look, I know this isn't going to make sense to a whole bunch of people. And I'm going
Right.
to do it anyway because I'm going to lean in and trust that my intuitiveness is drawing on experiences that I can't verbalize right now.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, it turned out really well. I mean, it was something that inconsequential, but it's big. It was big. It was an apartment that we were looking at and considering renting, and there was some things he didn't like about it, and I just felt like it was the right place. Anyway, we moved in. It was great. It was fantastic. It was not a big. It was not. So anyway, don't be afraid to say those things. Like, I know this might not look right. I mean, I know this may look strange to the outside world, but my intuition says that this is the right thing to do, and so I'm going to do it. And
Yeah.
leaning in and trusting that.
Your your story is causing me to reflect on, I mean, so many times that we could spend the rest of the time talking about
Right.
stories where I've done this. But I am struggling to come up with a scenario where I made a decision that was probably more intuition based than facts and logic based. And I regretted it. Like that just doesn't
Oh,
happen.
right. Yeah, no, I can't
And I think
think.
that's really interesting. And as I'm realizing this, that's not something I feel like I hear often. And so that's probably not talked about enough. But for
Right?
those listening, I would really challenge yourself to think at a time where, and now this is not the same as a rash decision.
No,
So when we talk about our feelings, we've divided into pretty much two categories before. So we have feelings that come from our intuition, our deep knowing, that stored away data that only comes up in emotional terms. But then we have another set of feelings, and these ones we call the ego feelings. And that often comes out as I don't want to type feelings.
Right?
This is this is from
Yeah.
our primal brain, our lower brain functions, the things that are there as protective mechanisms and also closely tied to fight, flight, flee, and freeze. But no, wait. Anyways,
Fight,
they keep
flight.
expanding it.
Yeah, that's okay. I know, right?
You know what I mean?
Yes, we get the
So
idea.
part of the magic here is doing some intentional work with yourself when these feelings come up and figuring out which category you can sort it into. Because
Yeah.
I would say pretty much across the board, decisions based on intuition, for me anyways, I'd love to hear if someone has a different experience, are almost in hindsight 100% the right decision. Whereas decisions made on the ego feeling, the I don't want to, let's play it safe, that's too risky, da 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 da, I'm not usually happy with those ones afterwards.
Right? Yeah. Yeah,
So
I
if your initial sense is to go, no, Kayla, I made some decisions based on feelings before and they didn't pan out, I really, I want to counter that and challenge you that was it an intuitive feeling, or maybe through another lens now in hindsight, was it actually an ego-based feeling?
right. Which is really kind of cool to talk about because I think that leads us into this whole second piece of this quote, right?
Yeah.
Where the rational mind is a faithful servant. And I know it sounded like you might have some hesitation on that one. I I feel like that really is or can be. Maybe can be if we're aware, if I'm aware enough of my intuitive feelings, it really does kind of lead me to this place where I can let my ego and rational mind just be the executor of things. So I know I've shared lots of times where I really work hard to think once, execute daily. And that's really because in the day to day stuff, my intuitiveness is in direct conflict to some of my ego day to day stuff.
Oh
And
yeah.
if,
They're
right,
the
and
angel and the devil on the shoulder.
exactly. And so if I am able to commit and create an action plan around my intuitive feelings, and then just kind of relax into that choice and that decision and allow my ego and my rational mind to just do the execution things on the day to day, that kind of leaves me in this place where I do feel like my rational mind can be my faithful servant to my
Yeah.
intuitive choices. So that's kind of how I've been looking and feeling around this particular quote. But I think that takes a lot of awareness. Like, I don't want to dismiss.
Absolutely. So yeah, that's my guess and my interpretation. I wish this quote just, I feel like it's missing a little bit of context, and so I'm inferring. So Albert, let me know if I'm getting it right.
Right? Nice.
But my inference here, when he says the rational mind is a faithful servant, I believe that that means the rational mind is a faithful servant to whoever is um, providing the direction, because I think it
Yes.
can go either way. So I think if we're in a place where we are leading with intuition, like it's almost like intuition is the boss. Like that's
Yeah.
how I see it ideally. Like intuition is the visionary CEO who's saying
Yes.
like these are the places we want to go, these are the things we want to do, these are the type of decisions we need to be looking at, where and then the rational mind is like, okay boss, now we're going to figure out the steps it takes to get
Uh,
there. And ideally we want to keep the ego just like down
yeah.
in the mailroom, I guess, like not
Right.
involved with the decision
No
making
decision
process at
making.
all.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Because
But
when we
very, very
are,
busy. But we
yeah,
want the ego to be very, very busy so that it cannot think and try to move into that decision making place. Like that is, I think for me, that's been really key. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And just to give some context to this, and that's because the ego brain really has one job, and it's to protect us from danger. And we have evolved as a species far more than our brainstem has where this type of situation is housed. And that's why you can, have conflict. Like my husband was just sharing, my husband's a nurse, and he had some interesting, shall we say, family members of a patient this weekend, and who were very confrontational about something that really they had no right to be confrontational about. And he doesn't like conflicts. So when that comes up, he starts the adrenaline is pumping, and he was sharing that with me afterwards, like how much he doesn't enjoy that feeling. And that's the ego brain being turned on, saying, I've been stimulated. I recognize that there is something here and I need to defend myself. It's looking for the saber-toothed tiger out in the woods. But in my modern day society, that's not what our issue, our battle is anymore.
Yeah.
And so that ego brain kind of doesn't know what to do, but it's still searching for protection. So it will feed you things that keep you from making what can be considered risky decisions. So when we're in a place where we are running our own business, that is a far riskier situation than what like human beings are programmed for. Like we're programmed to play it safe. So that's why we spend so much time talking about how to manage the ego. It's not that it doesn't have a place. It does have a place. If we run into a mugger, thank God we have it. Hopefully that'll never happen. But it's a far smaller place in modern society, particularly in somebody who's going off and starting their own thing, than what we needed it for in the beginning.
Right.
I just felt it deserved a little context there. Like we appreciate it.
Absolutely.
It just doesn't belong here.
Yeah, right. And I think and I appreciate the further dialogue and explanation there, because I think that that's exactly what I was getting at when I said keep it busy. Right? Like my ego and my logic side of my brain, right? That is that execution place, and that place where the ego can keep me safe. And because logic and my rational brain is where I really put together some systems and some, processes, right? And some things that are important and that will protect me. And it's a really good place for that part of my brain to work on the day-to-day stuff. And do the things that it's really good at doing, right? Creating really solid systems, really good processes, getting that stuff nailed down so that the things that we want to achieve from my intuitive vision, right, can come alive and be somewhat safe, right? Not be so fearful about the risks of trying new things or none of those good things. So I love that. And I think that they are complementary. And it does, like I said, I do not want to dismiss the self-awareness that it takes.
This is so much self-awareness. Yeah.
Right. I mean, I would say that of all the things,
it's an ongoing process. That's why Nicole and I did not create a 12-week Mindset Monday course.
No,
we created an event where we show up every week after week, because it's never over.
That's right. That's right. And like I said, we talk about a lot. If you're listening to this and you're like, oh my gosh, this is so much, you are not alone. Like it really is. It is so much. It is so much. And it is not something that, if this is your first Mindset Monday with us, keep coming back, because these are the things that we keep talking about over and over to help us stay in the state of awareness where we can execute at this level. Because, man, that's not something you just show up one day and do.
Yeah. But I want to take it back to my discussion a minute ago. where I was talking about the intuition as like the visionary CEO and the rational mind being kind of like the operator, the executor, figuring out the systems and processes.
Yeah.
The problem or the caveat to the rational mind is in my experience anyways, I don't think the rational piece of our brain can decipher if the message is coming from the intuitive brain or from the ego brain. So if you let that ego brain up in the boardroom making the decisions, it is often louder and more persuasive
Right.
than the intuitive brain. And suddenly now the rational brain is going, you know what? This guy makes sense. We got to listen to him. And I think this is why we can, look at, we'll just say a potential decision where your intuitive brain is saying, I feel like this is the right thing to do. And with a lack of mindfulness and intentionality around this, the very next thing that happens is the ego brain shows up. And what does it do? It provides a whole list of reasons because it knows how to cater to that rational mind of why we shouldn't do this. And now you have this cognitive dissonance going back and forth because you're like, I feel this, but then the data says that. And that's where things get really confusing. And I think, like, going back to the beginning, I think this is why there can be times where people believe that they made a decision based on a feeling and it turned out to be the wrong decision. I think it's because it was that ego showing up and announcing its feeling, and the rational mind can't tell the difference.
Right. Yeah,
the
I think
ego
this is
will
really
show up and always give you reasons, tangible reasons.
Yes.
Why you shouldn't do something, and you should play it safe and keep it small and, not start a business and just keep that steady, secure paycheck. But the intuitive mind is the one that shows up and says, we got to do something different.
Right. Like, it's got to happen. Yeah, I love this. This is I think this quote is really good in regards to getting some really good dialogue going. I would love, everybody's still quiet. We've still got some folks here. I'm just telling you, we would love to hear from you in the comments, what you're thinking, how you're feeling about this one. Do you recognize when Kayla mentioned the cognitive dissonance, I was like, oh, yes. Because I can't even tell you how often that happens. And, and it takes time to sit down and try to weed through and really get clear on, what is what? Like, literally, what is what? And what is my real driving feeling-ish, behind what's happening.
Who's screaming that feeling? Is it the intuitive or is it the ego?
Yeah. And like you said, I was just going to say, and if it's screaming, it's probably ego, right? Let's be real, right? That's because intuitiveness rarely gets
Oh yeah. So for me, I'm a visual person. So all of this makes more sense to me when I can visualize it in very tangible, concrete things. So that's why I explain things the way that I do, and hopefully that makes sense to people. But when I'm looking at this, I picture, if we're personifying these people, these different areas of our brain, I am seeing the intuitive brain as a yoga instructor or a monk, just very calm and
centered.
Namaste. Yes, in touch with the universe.
Yes.
And I picture my ego brain as a little kid, the little kid who wants ice cream for dinner. Okay, that's the ego brain, and the rational mind is I picture as I don't know, like an accountant or a banker, suit and tie, ready to do whatever the instructions are. It's going to figure it out. Okay.
Right.
So if you picture the battle of will here between the toddler who wants ice cream for dinner and the yogi master, one of those voices is always going to be louder.
Yes. Right. Yeah.
And That to me is helps to be a differentiator.
Mm-hmm.
I hope that makes sense to somebody.
It,
I'm also
yeah.
curious if the way we're running this today is not allowing people to comment.
Oh, and it could be, I
Yeah.
suppose. It shouldn't be though. I
Because,
mean,
well, it also
I
like
don't
it
know.
looks different. Our names are in purple, and that's not like that
I
normally.
know, right? I
Technology
know.
is,
It's
StreamYard is finicky.
yes, it is. Well, I'm hoping that that's it because we're getting nothing. Because we're getting nothing, and there are people here. Or it's vice versa. There's nobody here, and I don't know. But anyway,
That's
I don't
good.
know.
This is good for me. That is why we
I know.
started this.
Right, exactly. Um, yeah, because this one is really good. This one's really good. I don't have any. Kayla called me out because I'm on vacation and we're doing this kind of weird. Kayla was like, "Oh, so you're totally unprepared." Yes, I am unprepared. There are no notes here. So I am really interested in. Usually I have a couple of notes, but I don't have
Yeah,
any this
Nicole.
morning.
Nicole has notes and like printed calls to action.
Yes,
I just show up.
that's right. And that's okay. That's all right. Because there's lots of times that I just show up. Not here to this one, but on Wednesdays, sometimes I just show up for the call, and we never know what's going to happen. So anyway, I think that this one is like I said. I just want to share that if this is your first Mindset Monday, first time you're listening, this is a little bit more advanced on our quotes and our
Yeah, I agree with
conversations.
that.
And so don't let it dissuade you. Make sure that you're watching some of the other videos and that you stay with us for a little bit because, like I said, this one's a little bit more advanced and I don't want it to spook anybody off. Our mindset,
No, however, I think
yeah,
it really goes to illustrate that, they say in business that success in business is 20% what you do, the tactics, the Wednesday calls, and
yes,
80% mindset and
yes,
controlling the way you think and you show up in situations. And again, the
absolutely.
further and further I get along in my business journey, like that is dead on
Yeah,
for
yeah,
me.
I agree.
And I think I agree. This is a little bit of a deeper level than we necessarily go.
Yeah,
But I just think that that really speaks to how much there's there to
yes,
delve into and to
yeah,
learn and grow in mindset. And personally, I don't think, I mean, if your goal as an independent patient advocate is to establish a profitable practice, I don't see there being any way to do that without the mindset work.
oh, for sure, for sure. That is no joke. So we had a few more people jump on here. Kaylee, refresh us on what the quote is today because it is not what is
Oh
underneath
yeah,
us,
yeah.
and we just had a few more people jump in. So I
Don't
just
look at the
yeah
banner.
yeah don't look at the banner. It's wrong.
So our quotes for us this week comes from Mr. Albert Einstein, and it is good God, the intuitive
Yeah.
mind is a sacred gift, and the rational mind is a faithful servant.
Yes, I love it. Oh, good morning, Karen. It's awesome to
Oh, we
see
do
you
have some
here.
people popping
Yeah,
on.
we do. Yes, absolutely. Awesome. Okay. Oh, and then Chris is here too. Oh, good, good. Okay, good. We're getting some feedback. Y'all are here. We're loving that. Thank you very much. Yes. So this is like, actually, I think this quote, so the pillar this week is intuition versus ego, by the way. And I think this quote actually hits both. We've been talking about the difference between our intuitive mind and our rational mind and how this is something we haven't talked about yet, Caleb. I think we have, but not specifically. Specifically, I think that a lot of times, if I'm unchecked, my intuition mind and my rational mind will get into a battle, and my self awareness, my job as being a self aware human is to help them get along and play in the sandbox really well, as
Hmm.
opposed to getting into, um, and that's not always possible. But I think if I think of that as being my goal, it helps me look for who's playing what role at any
See,
given time.
actually, so I have a slightly different view on it. So I just want to share and see if this how this sits with everybody. But I see it just as the intuitive mind and the ego mind are at constant odds with each other. And with what Albert Einstein's saying in this quote, the rational mind is the faithful servant to whoever is the louder, more persuasive voice in the room, which, if they're in the same room together, is always the ego brain. So the ego brain will actually hijack the rational brain to use against the intuitive mind.
Yeah.
The rational, I feel like the rational piece, it doesn't have an agenda of its own. It kind of floats back and
Right.
forth. So the key is to push the ego as far as possible so that the rational mind can serve the intuition.
Yeah. That's interesting.
That's how it makes sense to me anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's an interesting perception. Um I'm a slow processor. So just so you know, that's what's happening over here is that I hear that and I'm like, okay, I can think about that. I can process that. Because what I'm thinking is that in my description there were only two players and in yours there's three. And so again, separating ego from the rational mind becomes really important in
Mhm.
that piece. So I can see that. I can see that for sure. Interesting. I like that. All right. So again, I'm always interested to hear what y'all are thinking out there. And oh, good. There's Sue. Um, she's from Raleigh, North Carolina. It's good to see you this morning, Sue. Fantastic. All right. Listen, I don't know what's our call to action because we are out of time. So what? Again, I don't have any. So help me out, Kayla. What do we think?
Sure.
What do we want to
So
hear?
the intuitive mind is a sacred gift. The rational mind is a faithful servant. So I think just as you're going through your week or coming, if you have a big decision in your life or as you come across smaller ones, start to pick apart like, okay, where is the intuitive piece, the rational things that are coming up? If you're starting to dig into the numbers, is it because the ego is trying to find that to fuel and support its mission? Or is there something more there? And just start to pick it apart and identify which kind of category these things are fitting in. And I think that's really going to help clarify your decision making
Yeah.
process. And if all
I
of
love
this
it.
sounds completely foreign, then I think that it's time to take a step back and going into the how do we strengthen the mind body connection, which we've
Yeah.
done an episode on before. We should, maybe in my spare time, let's all laugh together about that.
I know, right? Right.
But maybe I'll put it on my to-do list. Can't promise when we'll get it, but I think it would be helpful if I put together like a little downloadable PDF guide of like the tactical
Ooh,
things to implement on your day-to-day to help strengthen that mind-body connection so that you can start to hear your
yes.
intuitive voice because it is very soft. And that ego brain, the toddler wanting ice cream, is very
Man, he's
loud.
loud. Right? Super loud. Super, super loud.
And also,
Super
I just want
loud.
to recognize that that's the default mode. So, especially when
Absolutely.
this stuff is new to you and you're just starting on your journey of self awareness, I've been on this path, I'll say, for about 5 years now, and I am still learning a lot. Like it's a long path. I don't
It's
think it ever ends, actually.
so either. I'm convinced that it doesn't. I'm convinced that it doesn't. This is one of those things in life that is forever and and that's okay.
But it's not daunting.
Anyway,
It's exciting that
no.
we get to
Yes.
walk in this way. And to me, I just feel like this portion of the journey of life for me is like, I just feel like I keep up leveling. I also like
Yeah.
picture it as like I identify as a spiritual person. And so like, I feel like there's like, I really believe in like vibes that word gets thrown around so much, but like vibrations. And I feel like my
Yeah.
vibrations just keep going up, and it's almost like a loop that's like tightening on this like upward trajectory.
Just see. I love it.
So I don't want that to
I
stop.
think
It's awesome.
no, right. I know. I think they call that evolution. That's what I think. Anyway, anyway, everybody have a fantastic week. We'd love to hear from you. I think it was 3 or 4 episodes ago where we talked about the application of how to the mind body connection. We'll look into that. We'll try and get a link, put those in there. But have a fantastic week. This is you know, it'll be a great week. Try and be aware. Like I think it all starts with awareness. So
Yep.
if you can just start to be aware of the different brains that are at play in your day-to-day life, that's progress, and that's what we're here for. Progress, not perfection. So everybody have a fantastic week. We will see you same time, same day next week, Monday morning, 9 a.m. for some more positivity and inspiration. Have a great week. We'll see you later, guys.